One of our theme gardens for this year out in the studio garden is a children's playground garden. And in the corner of it, we want to have a corn patch because kids love to grow sweet corn. They love to eat it, they like the big plants, and it just adds an air of fun to the garden. Now, if you have a very small backyard, you may be thinking, oh, I don't have room for sweet corn. There's no way we can do this. Well, you can. We've just taken 4 landscape timbers, they're 8 feet long each, and made an 8 by 8 square. And in this square is enough space to grow 25 plants. The way we've set it up is down the length of our square, running north-south, we have our rows marked out 1.5 feet apart. And so every 16 inches we have a row. We'll have 5 rows of corn here, and we'll end up with 5 plants in each row. And if the raccoons will behave themselves this summer, hopefully, if we get 2 ears of corn off each plant, that should be 50 ears of sweet corn. So that's pretty simple math to do to figure out a place in your garden. Now, to have success with sweet corn, though, you want to make sure that you prepare the soil well ahead of time. I have my rows already marked off, but before we did that, we added about 2 pounds of blood meal. Now, blood meal is about 10% total nitrogen, and that's going to give us a long season supply of nitrogen in the garden. So we weighed out 2 pounds worth, spread it out, and worked it in. We also worked in 2 to 3 inches of organic matter, and this was some very well composted horse manure and straw that was very well decomposed. So the soil is nice and rich and ready for the corn to go in. Now, the variety that we're using is candy corn, and candy corn is just a standard hybrid sweet corn variety. It's very delicious, and we thought a name like that would be very appealing to children. One problem, though, is that the seed that we purchased has been treated. And this is coated seed. Normally corn seed, of course, is a nice buttery yellow or white. This has been coated with Captan fungicide and methoxychlor insecticide, and that's to guard against soil pests and soil fungi to keep the seed from being prevented from germinating. But if you have children who are planting this, try to buy untreated seed. Or if you have seed that has a color coating, and it may be red or green or blue, make sure that you have them wear some disposable rubber gloves. Now, usually, if you're helping kids plant sweet corn, let them plant pretty generously, allowing for crows and blue jays to pick them out, and also allowing for any cool temperatures. Now, we're planting about 15 seeds in each row, and then we'll come back in 10 days after germination. 10 days after the seed is up, the plants are growing, we'll thin this down to just 5 plants in the row. And as I mentioned, that'll give us 25 plants. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this over. We'll get the rest of it planted, and then we'll give you one more tip for ensuring success this early in the spring. Once you get all the seed planted, if your soil is as dry as ours, you want to make sure that you water it in real well, because seed has to have moisture to germinate, and otherwise it will just sit there. Also, you might check your soil temperature before planting. It helps if, with corn, if the temperature is between 60 to 65 degrees before planting. Just tamp that down and water it in. And then one final tip, as the corn comes up, we could still have some frosty weather. And so you might want to take some spun bonded polyester row cover. This is the same thing as fabric interfacing that you find at fabric stores. And stretch that over the row. We're just going to do 3 rows with it and 2 without. And we'll just tuck this in under here. And what that will do for us, once we get it all secured, is it will allow in air and light and moisture, but it will guard the young plants against frost, to protect them against frost when they first come up, so they can get off to a good start. And it actually warms the soil a little bit before the day, before we get out of our frost season. The trick with remay is to remember to take it off in time, because once those plants start coming up, they'll start pushing up on this quite a bit, so you don't want to have it too taut on there, but that should help you. One final tip is use a biological marker in your area of Oklahoma to tell you that it is time to plant sweet corn. And we were always told growing up that when oak leaves are the size of squirrel's ears, then it's time to plant corn. So hopefully it's that time in your backyard and you can get started with it.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.